Last round. Fight!
Hello and welcome to the Last Round podcast. I'm your host Dan Saunders. Joining me as always, my co-host Anton Austin. We're here in Ashton at Manchester Top Team to speak with former Thai fighter, now MMA fighter and striking coach Andy Lofthouse. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me on.
So obviously you started Muay Thai a long time ago. What made you choose Muay Thai to start in originally?
There was just a local club on my estate. It's the same usual story. Like, I was a small kid, got a bit of grief at school off a couple of the lads. I wouldn't say bullying, it's more character building, I think, back in, Yeah. they weren't mean and like beat me up and that, but just...
Do you have a lot of energy as a young kid, or...?
No, maybe when I was dead young, but then like I got to 12, 13, I was just like a bit of a clown, but yeah, so I just went down to the local gym. My stepmom got me into it and then just took to it dead well.
So how old was you when you initially started?
11, back in 2001.
Okay. So one of your striking coaches used to be Daz Morris, didn't it? He used to coach Bisping. I was wondering, like, did that benefit you? How was the relationship with him?
The relationship's still good. Like, Daz is still involved, so like he's at the end of the phone all the time, but he's busy with his own business and stuff like that. So, like, if I need anything, I know I can just ring him. If I want to go and do pads, I just give him a shout. Okay. But yeah, we're still keeping contact, and we've got a couple of the other lads who train here, Carlos and Jake Jenks, who are also Thai boxers, come to MMA. Right. They train here as well, so we've still got that connection.
Right. Okay. One thing that we're quite interested about in the Muay Thai scene, especially, is sponsorships. Really, I know it. Like, early on, you were sponsored by Top King and Sandy.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, what did you get out of having those sponsors? Was it just like purely gear, or?
Yeah, just purely gear. There's no financial sponsor. They just hooked me up with like gloves when I needed them, shorts, pads, anything I needed. Right. Just give them a shout. The Top King one was good because I went over to Thailand and it was like, oh, just come over to the warehouse. Right. And I just went in and I was like, I'll have that.
Yeah,
sick. It just cost me luggage coming back home.
I think we seen that old picture, didn't we? Yeah. With Paul and Liam.
Yeah, there's Paul, Liam, Andy Housen, Andy Thrasher, Julie Kitchen.
Everyone looked proper young.
And the Kitchen twins as well, they were on it as well.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when you fought Muay Thai, you fought Keith Mclachlan for the UK number one. How would you assess that fight looking back, do you think, or do you not really remember it?
It was good. I remember like leading up to the fight, I'd never made the weight before. I'd never gone to 59. I think it would match that. And I seen something somewhere saying that I wasn't going to make the weight. So like when it comes to the weigh-in, I knew I was on weight. So I got in the scales with a cream cake in me and eating the cream cake because I was confident. But no, it was a good test of my ability to test my unorthodox style against his like traditional slow-paced Thai. And to be honest, he did take me apart with the basics. Yeah. So you've got to stick to the basics, and then all the flaunty stuff can come out. But
definitely. I think your style as well. Looking back on your fights, you were renowned for like having your hands low, baiting him in, your elbows, turning back kicks.
I just didn't take it serious. Just enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's having a bit of fun.
Yeah, you've got it, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely.
I think on one of the commentaries was like, oh, it looks like he's having a walk in the park, but if you're fighting, that's what it should be like.
Yeah.
I was going to say about the commentary, because you just said about like low guard, and I know that like Vinny was quite what's the word, like he was quite my brain's gone dead. What's the word? Like basically you were saying that you always had a low guard and stuff, and you were saying like it's a bad thing, or it's low guard or no guard. Do you know what I mean? Like when you were fighting on the commentary, you were saying stuff like that. The commentators.
Yeah, I think when I first came onto the main circuit, it was Sandy Oak commentating me, and he's like, "No, I don't like this guard. It doesn't work. You're gonna get kicked in the face and blah blah blah, or you're gonna get caught with an elbow." And then I landed a spinning elbow, and he was like, "Okay, maybe I'm wrong." Yeah. So it's just whatever works for you. Like. As a coach, do as I say, not as I do. I say, because you don't want to take too many shots. Yeah. Especially with the science coming out about CTE and stuff like that. Like when I finished Thai with the way you spar in Thai, and it's always hard. Like I was slurring words and forgetting things. My temper was changing. Like I had mood swings all the time. So
what was it like when you were sparring? Going back to obviously your Muay Thai days, sparring. You was down at Team
U, yeah.
Team U. And also you train with Phil at Evolve Gym.
Yep.
So what was it like, your sparring? Was it always tough sparring, or was it more technical?
Yeah, it was always tough.
Always tough.
I think that's Thai, innit?
Yeah.
Thai's tough. If you're not tough, you can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think I know like when I train too technical, when people are fighting and we do up it, we do have play spars, also we have technical spars, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I'd say Paul, like when I was going down training with Paul,
Yeah,
He's
'cause you've
probably
been down, yeah.
It was the only technique like where you could play because we were very similar style, not the same style, but we can appreciate what we're doing. So a lot of the time, it was like back and forth, nice and easy. But then when you're sparring against other people, like some of the stuff I do in sparring, people think, oh, he's taking the piss. Yeah. But I'm not. I'm just being me. I'm not being
just
cocky or anything.
Yourself,
just enjoying it.
I know that you also fought Chris Whittle from Frankshire while you were fighting Muay Thai. I was wondering, have you fought many southpaws, and like what's it like coming up against a southpaw?
I think he's the only southpaw I've ever fought.
Right.
Thinking about it.
Was it awkward?
Yeah, it was awkward, but I felt people may disagree, but I felt in control in that fight. But what happened was I tried a fancied scissor kick in the first round, and I landed and I went over on my ankle, and I got a grade 2 tear in my ankle ligament. So it just totally took my game away, and then I think they noticed it. Frank's smart. Frank's a top coach and a top corner man. And I think he noticed that my movement wasn't quite there, so I had to change game plan, and he just took advantage of booting my back leg. I think my leg's still in Withenshaw somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Cross Acres or somewhere.
I was speaking to Chris not that long ago. I was trying to get him up for sparring for one of our lads, and I didn't even think to ask for my leg back.
So how do you look back on your time in Muay Thai now? Are you like quite fond of it, or is it just, I don't know, it is what it is?
It's made me the man I am today. You can't my original. So I was on the quiet circuit, the WMF, and that, and as an amateur, I learnt all the traditional style of Thai boxing and did all your Muay Baran and all that sort of stuff. But it develops you as a person. Martial arts always develops a person. Kicks you off the street, stops you doing stuff you shouldn't be doing, and it was good. It's good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Looking back, again, sticking on your Muay Thai career, what would you say has been your toughest fight or your toughest test? Obviously as an amateur, you were successful. You won in Bangkok. You fought in Bangkok, didn't you? 8
times. 8 times I fought in Bangkok.
Seen them on YouTube. Some of them videos I was watching.
Yeah.
So that's you
feel like an old man.
No, so what would you say has been your toughest fight as a professional, or who's you fought Chris, you fought the Ferguson fight.
Keith as well.
You fought Keith.
The Ferguson fight
was an impressive stoppage. That was good. That
I didn't even get going.
No.
I think that's the scary thing. As I was just going through the motions.
Remember the face off in the centre at the start. You were both like.
No, that started. So when I left my first gym, my original gym, and I started training with Phil down at Evolve. That's when I went onto the main circuit.
Right.
And we was looking for fights, and it was an 8-man tournament in Birmingham. And Ferguson pulled out 2 weeks before, so I stepped in, performed on that. I had Paul in my corner. I was training with Paul for that. I beat Ross George, then I beat Brian Totti, and then I lost against the Italian in the final, who'd not long fought Liam Morrison before that. So it was a good, from going as a no one to straight on the big circuit.
Active as well.
Yeah, active straight away. And then my next fight after that was down at Infusion, where Ferguson had pulled out of a fight on 3 days' notice. So I took that fight against Adam Lee Mason, against Kieran Kedwell's lad he was. And then I think he was due to fight me. We matched the fight because he's pulling out of fights. I'm taking his position. I'm getting success. There was a bit of animosity there. But then he was matched to fight me on, I think it was the main event.
Okay.
And then he pulled out and took another fight against someone else. So remember Axe back in the day?
Yeah.
I got on Axe and said something about it. I was like, why are you fighting for the world title? You won't even fight me. And it just went from there. And then he was like, oh, I'd never had a hard test. I'd never been hit properly. We're going to burst my bubble and blah, blah, blah. And that's just where it came from. So that was the first time I'd ever had a fight where I didn't like the guy.
Yeah, good tell that.
It's all swept under a rug now. We get on, we have a chat and that. But back then I was like, no, I'm going to bang him. I'm going to bang him bad.
Yeah, it's a good finish, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's like we were saying about the hardest fight was probably Whittle. Yeah, because the kid's crisp, innit? The shot, textbook, yeah.
It's like with Neve as well, just always good shot selection.
Don't
waste much.
Don't waste much.
Don't waste much.
But I will say, on a different night, I would have beat him. I honestly feel like in the Thai boxing, everyone I did fight, I was, I didn't go into a fight where I was going to lose. I was capable of beating all of them, without a shadow of a doubt.
So not many people have made the switch from Muay Thai to MMA, and what made you want to do it?
I just didn't enjoy Thai anymore. My last fight was supposed to be against Mike Eslick. He pulled out to injury. Shane Farrakhan stepped in, but I'd already decided that was my last fight. I wasn't getting the hunger in my belly to get up in the morning and go running, and I was working full time, had kids, and it's a graft when you've got kids. I just weren't interested, so I'd stopped. I was still coaching at Timu. Dad's obviously busy with his business, so I just took on the role of coach there. I was training Carlos, Tyler Liptrot, Jake Jenks, Cassie. I was just helping out with them more than anything. And then we had Danny Roberts, who fights in the UFC, Hot Chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
He came down for a photo shoot for Reebok and JD and that, and was like, oh, can you jump in on it? So I did that with him. And then his manager at the time was like, have you ever done MMA? And I'd done jiu-jitsu, and I was learning jiu-jitsu just for in gi and that, just for a bit of a laugh. And he was like, I was like, yeah, probably one day. And then he like rang me a week later and said, got you a fight on Bama if you want to take it. So
No way.
yeah, go on then.
Literally that quick?
That quick. Wow. So I only had like 8 weeks. I was like 84 kilo at the time, so I was fighting at bantamweight, which is 61 and a half. So I had to cut the weight. That was dark.
God, that's
Bad
a big
darkness,
cut, that.
yeah.
You go big, don't you, there? Flipping it.
I got fat. I had cellulite and everything.
Jeez.
But yeah, that's how it all started. It was just
Big stage as well, Bama, isn't it?
Yeah, and I got banged, so that was fun.
Yeah. Was that on television, that one as well?
Yeah. So it was a Bama and Bellator card.
Right.
So you had the Bama show and then the Bellator show straight after in Dublin. Yeah, it was sick. Best show I've ever fought on.
Yeah.
So how did the purses compare on like Bama, and I know you fought on Cage Warriors as well, compared to like Muay Thai purses?
So going straight into MMA as a no one with no fights, I was getting paid more than I was in Thai.
Right.
Only a little bit more, not
Yeah.
like grands. It was a few $100 more, but
Okay.
Makes a difference.
it makes a
doesn't
difference being at the bottom, starting at the bottom, and earning the same money where like you're top 5 in the UK. UK, it's all about selling tickets, but they pay me that purse going over to Dublin knowing I won't sell many tickets.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so that.
yeah, but it's you've got to look at the end goal for me. Like in Thai, what's the end goal? It's now
Basically
fortunate.
one or
It's
nothing,
one.
innit?
Yeah, one championships are going to pay you a nice little butty, but you're not going to be able to live on it. You're still going to have to go back to the gym the week after and do one-to-ones and sessions and stuff like that. But like in MMA, you can. Lerone's a perfect example. He fought an FCC probably for £400-500, and then went and fought in Abu Dhabi on the undercard of Khabib, and earned like 4 figures.
Yeah.
And then he's just got a new contract, so the money's there at the end. Yeah, you've got to look at the end goal.
That's one thing I like about MMA is that like after the events they'll release how much fighters are getting paid and stuff. Whereas obviously Muay Thai it's kind of like a bit of a riddle really. No one really knows, and like unless someone tells you like what they're getting paid, like you just kind of unawares really. Obviously the standard price is like 500 for an A-class fight.
Yeah.
And obviously people could be getting more. Like obviously we spoke to Mari Dietrich who now fights on Glory, and he's saying he got even less for fighting A-class. So it's just like
I know Mari. We played COD together.
Big up on Mari.
Funny guy. But yeah, it's dead. I don't know
Do you
why.
have any regrets or anything wish you would have done different? Why you were still fighting Muay Thai? Anything looking back?
I wish I'd quit work years ago.
Try and
I've
juggle
literally
the balls.
like this year. This is the year of quit work, and I'm in the gym full time. But if
I reckon would have continued fighting Muay Thai then if you wasn't working.
I don't know, because I was doing it for so long, I just lost the enjoyment.
Yeah.
And it started getting to the point where, like, I'd lose fights because my kicks didn't look like I was on balance and stuff. Some shows where they say you've got to look balanced when you kick, it's about effect, and, like, Paul would probably say the same, like, the way you throw shots is not balanced to normal people, so, just, I don't know.
So what do you think of like the UK Muay Thai scene then, as a whole? Like the judging, the scoring?
I like the guys, like some of them, but I think they just contradict what they say sometimes. Kevin Harper and that bang on, they know what they're talking about. Kevin Harper, Tony Myers, like you can sit down with them and they'll tell you exactly. And then you run these judging courses and they pass the judging course. And I'm going to say it's like a driving test. You can pass your driving test but not have a clue how to drive.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening sometimes. Unless you're fighting on Yokkao or like the main event back in the day, then the scoring's fucking all over the place.
Yeah. Would you say main event was the best show you fought on for Muay Thai?
Best show, yeah.
Best
I never
show.
fought on Yokkao.
Right, okay. What about Infusion? What was that like?
Like
That was good.
kickboxing rules?
Yeah, it was kickboxing. Yeah, it was. So it wasn't Thai.
Yeah.
There was no elbows, which I nearly threw in the fight, but But yeah, I'd say as a show in a whole, the main event, no one come close to what Daz and Phil put on there. No one could match
were
that. But
impressive then.
as for the cards, Yokkow's a sick card in it, so
Yeah.
that's like less show, more fight, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. You mentioned before about your kind of mentality changing after you became a dad. I was wondering, in what sense did it change? Were you just like more hungry to get it, or do you know what I mean?
Less hungry. Like sometimes I was working down in Worcester, like travelling down to Worcester, coming home at night, and then I've got to go to the gym, and I've got 2 kids, and it's like, hi, bye. You don't see your kids.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm full time, I'm free, so I'll be in the gym. I'll drop them off at school in the morning. I'll come to the gym, pick them up from school, come back to the gym.
Yeah.
See, it's just more of a family life.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's just like when you get home from, like the little girl said once, or I get messages like, "Daddy, I miss you," and it's just like, and you find excuses not to go training then.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, once you don't know what the next step is in Muay Thai, you're fighting these number ones, you're not really satisfied financially with the pay you're getting, even though you're working as well.
Yeah.
And then, it's affecting your family life and stuff like that. You do start to have them questions, won't you? Do you know what I mean? And think,
100%.
MMA's, financially, it's going to be more doors open, it's a fresh start, it can make big figures.
Yeah.
Do you think Daz Morris had a big, also, going back to Daz, do you think he had a big impact on you being around, some of these Dan Hot Chocolate and Bisping and knowing of these fighters? Did that also give you
Yeah, because it normalises things for you. We say about Lerone, has gone from fighting on small shows to being a massive prospect in the UK.
Yeah.
But you could put him in the room with anyone and he don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It normalises everything. Walks out to the cage, normal, don't care.
Yeah.
Gets in front of a big opponent, normal, don't care. So it just kind of, being around them people just normalises everything for you. So
Yeah.
you're not like getting your energy drained
Yeah.
by people being there, you being dead excited and stuff like that. So
Who
yeah, I
was
remember
somebody-
on me Bama weight cut when I was in the hotel in Dublin, like Daz is on the phone and then he goes, "Oh, Lofty, yeah," and it was Bisping on FaceTime.
Right.
So I had Bisping taking the piss out of me while I'm like dripping under towels,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Man, go away."
Yeah.
Any other time I'm like, "Oh, it's Bisping."
Yeah.
Who were some of your influences then when you were like coming into the MMA scene?
I did a lot of sparring with fighters, so I'd spar with Mike Diakese in the UFC now, Brendan Loughnane, train with him. So I look up to them ones. They're fluent strikers. Fluent strikers. I just enjoy what
How
they
did you
do.
test up with them guys when you're sparring, coming from the Thai background?
I do okay against
yeah.
them. Yeah, Mark used to come up to Timu, and then I've trained with him at other places since. But he's a tricky customer,
Yeah,
and
he is,
he
yeah.
hits hard.
Yeah.
But Brendan, when Brendan got signed to the Contender Series, I think it was last year, I got a phone call off him. And I know Brendan, but I don't know him to speak to him on the phone.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call, like, "Who's this?" And it's like, "Who's Brendan?" He's like, "Oh, I've just got back from Vegas last night. Coming sparring tomorrow." I was like, "Yeah, why not?"
Yeah.
So I turned up at the gym, thinking there'll be a few of us. He's like, "Right, we'll let them finish sparring, then we'll go." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And I look up to Brendan as being an animal, and I'm thinking, "What do you mean?" And he went, "We'll just stick full gear on and we'll go for 3-5s." And I was like, "Honestly?" And we did. We just had a fight.
Yeah.
3 5-minute round fight, and he was like, after the second round, I was dead. I was like sat in the corner thinking, why have I done this?
Was that the stand-up or MMA?
MMA, full
Right.
MMA, and I'd not been doing it. I've been doing it for a bit, but like technique-wise, skill-wise, I was nowhere near the ability of Brendan. But like Tony Musa, Kane's uncle who trains him, was like, "Right, stop now after 2 rounds." And Brendan's going, nah, it's Lofty, he'll be sweet. I know he'll be fine. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm all right." And then I probably got stronger in the last round.
Yeah.
But then after, he was just, so grateful for it. And he was like, "You're the perfect sparring partner for the guys I'm going to be fighting." So I'd say that people know my ability in striking wise in MMA.
Yeah.
I've just got to adapt it. I have adapted it to being able to mix it in with wrestling. And I wouldn't even say jiu-jitsu. I just more like being able to scramble and wrestle.
Yeah.
I think the UK style a lot of times in MMA is can be quite striking heavy. Do you think when they start fighting these international opponents and black belts in jiu-jitsu and stuff, do you think it does become a problem?
Yeah, in MMA you can't throw every shot with bad intentions, because if you do, you just got to end up on your back or on your face. And like I said, with these Russians now, if you throw a kick and turn your hip over, they're on you.
Yeah.
And that's it. Round's over because you're not getting back up. So you've just got to adapt your striking. It's got to be more like a karate taekwondo style of striking. I've seen so many people probably amateur and low level MMA fighters are like, "Oh, I'm going training with this Thai boxer who's like an orthodox Thai boxer," and just stood there tapping the front leg, throwing body kicks. it's not going to work in MMA.
Yeah.
You're just going to lose every round because you'll land 1 or 2 shots, and you might get lucky in some fights and land a knockout shot, but you 90% of the time you'll end up on your back.
Yeah, I know we watched quite a few of your fights, and the ones that you lost, it did seem like they were just taking you down and just lying on you. And it's just like,
I mean, the last lot I had on Cage Warriors is a fight that I'd win 9 times out of 10, but I'm not making excuses, but my training camp was shit. It was like really shit. My coach was over in Vegas. I wasn't getting much sessions in with Daz. But as a fighter, I was like, I'm still fighting. And where really I needed a coach to say, no, you're not fighting this fight. And that's what I've got now. I've got here at Manchester Top Team, we've got like 10 different coaches. So you have your grappling coach, striking coach, like Carl Prince is like our head coach who will oversee everything, but then we've got S&C coaches, they test your fitness, it's just different level.
I think your preparation now, obviously MMA is a totally different ball game to the Muay Thai, but in terms of your strength and conditioning, do you reckon you're a lot fitter now than you was when you were doing the Muay Thai? Do you reckon the training's got to be a lot different, more explosive for like the takedowns and?
Yeah, it's a different fitness, but I will say
different body type, would you say?
Yeah, if anyone thinks that they're fit, come and do 3 rounds with a Dagestani in here, because I can tell you now you're not fit. Because they're just monsters. They can just go for rounds and rounds and rounds, and when you're like, they take you down and then you get back up. They take you down again.
Like drowning underwater, isn't it? I can imagine.
Yeah, it's like being in a clinch, isn't it? When you're someone's in a strong clinch and then they just dump you. You've got to pull yourself back up. But imagine trying to get yourself back up while they still lay on you. So you've got to be fit for MMA. It's totally different.
I think it's weird because a lot of like kickboxers have transitioned into MMA quite well. Like you've got people in the UFC like Israel Adesanya. Overeem was obviously quite big in it, and Holly Holm as well.
Hanzaki as well.
Some monsters.
Why do you think they maybe translate better to MMA than Muay Thai?
It's just technique. They don't put full body weight behind a shot. Not every shot's there. It's like kickboxing. I think a lot of them start on like low impact rules, don't they? Where it's light contact and that. So it's about being sharp in MMA. It's the shot that you don't see that knocks you out, not the big power shot. Whereas Thai, a lot of the fights go 5 rounds because they're just punching shit out of each other, hitting each other hard, and then you can't walk for 2 weeks after. It's you've just got to be quick. You've got to not give your body position up at all. So when they talk about posture and like balancing and Thai, like it's the same for MMA, but the difference is you're not gonna lose a round, you're gonna lose the fight. So
it's hard in MMA as well because like the takedown is so like massive in terms of scoring. If it's like a close round and you just get took down at the end of the round, that's it. You've lost the round just like that, really. Yeah,
it's slowly changing though. I think again, I'll go back to Lerone's fight when he got signed to the UFC against Tukagov. He was getting taken down, but the guy was doing nothing. He didn't land 2 strikes in the last 2 rounds. So you've got to do something with that takedown now. They're not just like the judges aren't happy with just a takedown. I mean, if it's pretty even on the feet and then I take you down, then you're gonna win the round. Like I'll win the round if I took you down, but.
Is he like an organisation in the UK who does the judging like in Muay Thai you have?
It's the same people who do like the UFC and that.
Right, okay.
So I know the majority of the big shows are done like Mark Goddard, they're the refs, so the judges are all from the shows that I've been to. It's usually the same people judging, and they're all well experienced.
Okay. I think like with MMA judging, it's a lot more easier to understand than Muay Thai, innit? Like Muay Thai, like there's such a disparity in the scoring. I think like you can have a casual MMA fan who will kind of know the scoring in MMA quite simple. It's relatively simple.
Yeah, because it's none of this
casual Muay Thai fan who's literally not got a fucking clue how
it's none of this sprint marathon race. Like I understand you can win the first 3 rounds, but then if you get beat up, but how do you judge that? Like round 4 is outweighing round 3 it comes down to opinion at the end of the day. And it depends what you see. You don't see everything in you. Like you could read the exact same book and have a total different like perspective of it. So I think that's where you get a few issues in the Thai scoring. But if you get the ones who have done hundreds and hundreds of fights and have been out to Thailand, they'll 9 times out of 10, or say 99.9% of the time, they'll get the decision right. To be fair.
But imagine like if MMA, if only like the 3rd round like mattered, everything else was just kind of like a lead up to the 3rd round. Like the sport wouldn't be as exciting as it is. You know what I mean?
Difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I just don't see the point of a 10-9 system in Thai if you're going to score it of whoever finishes stronger. Don't see the point of it. I know in my fight against Shane Farrakhan, like I felt I'd won the fight, And I watched it back and okay, I could see why I lost. But then when I saw the scorecards after, I was like, you're mad. Because I didn't win a single round, apparently.
Yeah. How did you see the scorecards, if you don't mind me asking? Did the judge show you after the fight, or did you have to send an email, or how did you go
obviously
about?
my coach is the promoter, so
Right,
after the show I was just like, yo, I'm getting older then.
You want to know what
I just wanted to see it, and I don't think, if I remember, I didn't even win a round off any of the judges.
Right.
So I don't know how you figure that one out.
We've asked a couple of people, haven't we, before? We've done you done a poll, didn't you, on Instagram? Just talking about should the judges' scorecards be available?
They are, in Thai they are. So if you go
Yeah.
to the head judge on a Thai show, whether it be Kevin Harper or Tony Myers and that, and just say to him, obviously not while there's a fight going on because they're busy, but in the break, can I look at, I'm not happy with the scores. I'm sure they'll quite happily show you the scorecards.
Yeah. I think there's been a few have been refused though and said.
Have they?
Yeah, a few had a few messages to saying, send us an email after we, like you said, they've not got time, or they've got too busy, stuff like that. But I do think, again, fighters will improve the quality of Muay Thai, because then the fighters can assess where they're going wrong, stuff like that. Coaches again can think, we thought Andy was winning that round 5, alright, he didn't, they can look back and obviously assess it a bit more.
For me, I don't think it's hard to judge a fight.
No.
There's usually clearly a winner. And then if it's close and you're unsure, then you're obviously going to go off who's the stronger opponent. When it comes to the later rounds, who's kept that strength all the way through the fight. But don't know, like I said, the ones who are good at it, who have been involved in the sport, know how to do it. But some of them have took the course that haven't they haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
They contradict themselves all the time. They'll say, it's about effect. Okay, so what's effect to me and you? Effect to me is if you kick and you move.
Yeah.
But if it kicks and bounces off, it's not effect.
Yeah, after still
There's no
walking
effect.
forward,
There's no effect on it. So they just need to sort out the lower level of the judges, I think.
Yeah. You mentioned one championship before. Obviously, they fight in MMA gloves now, and they're doing 3 rounds. Is that something that you would have liked to have done back in the day, like when you were in the Muay Thai scene?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I've even asked. So I've been suffering with problems like injuries, neck injuries, and stuff like that. But I even questioned end last year, should we go down the one route, get back into the striking? The only way you'll catch me in fighting Thai again is if I've got 4-ounce gloves on. It's over 3 rounds, and then I'll smoke everyone.
That'd be good.
But I enjoy grappling more than I do striking now.
Right.
I think that's just because I'm training with the Russians.
Yeah.
Like when you see sometimes in gyms, people will go to who they know they're going to get an easy round. But when I'm training I'm picking Lerone, I'm picking Kane, I'm picking the Russians. Yeah. So if it's a grappling round, I'm like to one of the Russian lads that you're with me, and I'll just get mullered for 5 minutes, and then the next time, once you've been mullered 20 times, you're going to improve.
Yeah, definitely.
And although they're not great at English, if you speak to some of them, they'll call me a wrestler now. Yeah. Because I'll show a little. I've managed to adapt the striking to grappling, and they love it. That's why they're still here.
I think it shows a lot about your character just then, like you said, even to do with rounds, not choosing people you're going to kick up, or you can have a lazy round with and think, I can get away with it.
Don't get me wrong, I'll have a lazy round. I'm bad for that. I'm a good training partner, so if I'm training with someone and I know so even if I'm in camp, I'll just be okay. It's just a round, I'll go easy on them, I'll let them land shots in that way. The past 6 months and that, my mentality's changed. I know when I'm in camp now, I've got to do it for me. I've got to. It's not about being a dickhead and being that one who's beating everyone up in between the rounds, but you've got to try and win that round. You've got to try and win exchanges. If I know I can knock them out, I'm not going to knock them out, but I've got to win.
That competitiveness.
You've got to have that You've got to come out here thinking, right, I've won that round.
I think that's all credit as well to the surroundings and the team you've got around you. People, like Lerone in the UFC and some of these wrestlers. It's you've got to be on your A game.
No easy rounds in here. I let anyone from any gym in the UK MMA wise come in here, and they're not getting easy rounds all night, guaranteed.
It's interesting as well. Also, sorry, just to touch on what you said off camera about you've got fighters from different parts of the northwest, different MMA gyms who are coming down here. It's high quality all the time. You're mixing up as opposed to obviously the Muay Thai scene. Referring back to that, people spar at different gyms, but not as big variety at different gyms.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's my dad's harder than your dad, isn't it? When you're in school, what's the point in being the best in Manchester?
Yeah.
What's the point in being the best in the northwest?
So we spoke to a lot of our guests about testing in Muay Thai, and obviously in the UK there's literally no testing at all. I was wondering, what's the drug testing like in the MMA scene? Is it a lot stricter?
Once you sign to the UFC, it's very strict.
Yeah.
So I think with the UFC, UCAD do it, UK Anti-Doping Agency.
Yeah.
And you've got to give them 2 addresses. Is your home address and your gym. And they will just show up at any time. And you have a time limit. If you're not at the first venue when they go there, then they'll check the second venue. And if you're not there, then you failed and you'll get banned. So you've got proper strict. But for like local shows, regional shows, it don't really happen.
It costs a lot of money, I can imagine.
Yeah, you do have to have to fight like Cage Warriors, stuff like that. You've got to have all your blood tests done for.
How about like brain scans? And
brain
stuff
scans,
like
yeah. But they cost a fortune. Then. But at least you know.
Yeah,
Your brain's all right.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, going back to the Muay Thai, to do with scans. I've never fought on a show where stuff. I know Paul's touched on fighting in America. He got all these scans done. It was very professional and stuff like that. While you was fighting in Muay Thai, did you ever undergo anything like that, or any sponsors help you out to get this? No?
Never had a single test. Not for nothing.
No.
Like every show, like even the medicals, like pretty straightforward. I think I could do a medical for you and tell you you're okay to fight. But even like we're fighting over in Thailand in championships as an amateur and that, like this is backed by the Sports Authority of Thailand when we're fighting, and no tests. So like you're all training using the same training facilities and that, and like when I was a kid, I think the 15 the first time I went, coming out of like going into one of the places where we were allowed to train after one of the Eastern Bloc gym, like I've been in there, and there's just like wrappers for syringes on the floor, and you're just like, as a 15-year-old, you're like, what's that? What are they taking? What are they doing? But they were all steadied off their head. I think the Thai scene still is. There's not many who aren't taking stuff.
But you've ever
even
fought
in the UK,
that
you cheats.
So you've ever fought anyone that has been on a...
Yeah, definitely. I fought a lad from Iraq once in Thailand, and like I was just hitting him with every shot I had.
Keep coming forward.
And there was just nothing in his face. There was just no reaction, not even a wince. I was hitting him with big elbows, and there's just no glare in his eye, just walking forward all the time. I was like, he's on something. He's got to be anti to do that, surely.
Yeah, it's definitely a grey area.
Yeah.
And like you said, even when you finished, fighting Muay Thai and stuff like you talked about, slurring words, little bits and stuff like that. Not maybe to an big extreme, but do you know what I mean? Do you reckon these guys who are doping and taking stuff like that, and they are taking these excessive shots, when they get into the 40s and 50s and stuff like that, it will have a long-term effect on it, won't it? The brain's going to be like...
Yeah, I say like the likes of Buckow and Liam as well, like touch wood, like there's nothing wrong with them, but they're going to be the first ones that are going to find out if they suffer from stuff like CTE, because they're like at the later end of the stages.
Liam's took a lot of damage,
and they're the ones who are at like the higher end of like... They're the top level. They've had the big fights. They've had a lot of fights. They've took a lot of impact. And surely it's not good. It's not good at all.
Yeah,
definitely.
So before I ask you about when you're sponsored by Top King and Sandy, I was wondering, is the sponsorships in MMA, is there a lot easier to get sponsorships?
No, I'd say sponsorship comes down to your Instagram followers these days. If you haven't got thousands and thousands, then you're not getting anything off anyone, unless they're your mates.
What about fake followers?
But even I think they don't. I say followers, but I think it's more about interactions and that. So every time like I've gone for a sponsor or wanted like I've been put onto a sponsor, they want to know you're following, how many people are looking at your posts. You've got to send them all the details.
Right,
so
I get you.
I think there was something posted somewhere the other day about like Liam was on it with Liam's got 450,000 followers, and that's value of. So you can earn like between $2,000 and $3,000 off a sponsor every time you post or something like that. So they've gone a lot more clever with it instead of just going, I'm going to fight in front of 100 people at this con club somewhere. But it's about your following and your interactions. You've just got to get them. So you've got to make a persona, you've got to make a personality, and a lot of Thai lads haven't got that. Like you talk to them and it's 2-3 words, simple answers, but you've got to make a character, you've got to make a story. It's a business at the end of the day, and promoters are businessmen. You've got to make money.
I think that's the massive difference with the MMA. Everyone's a lot outspoken, interviews and stuff like that. They rarely selling themselves. Sometimes can be a little bit disrespectful. I'm going to knock him out. I'm doing, Thai ones a lot more, with bow and respectful and stuff like that.
It's one or the other, innit? You've either got to make people like you and want you to win, or you've got to make people hate you and not want to see you get knocked out. End of the day, they're still buying pay-per-views and tickets to watch you get beat up or win.
Definitely.
Do you have plans to continue fighting then?
Yeah. So I'm just currently out with injury at the moment. Herniated disc, C5 and C6. So I'm down for surgery for that. So, but I was the best I'd ever been. Like I was training with Lerone.
Yeah.
Lockdown when obviously the government said that like elite athletes could train. Lerone had to train because as soon as you get that call up off the UFC, you can't be saying no.
Yeah.
So I was the one who was in training with him, getting beat up. Not that badly beat up. Don't give him too much, but I was training. I was good. Felt sick, ready to go, and like the UFC's still on my cards. Even though I've got 2 losses, I can see myself getting there. I know I've got the ability to get there. But with this injury now, I'm going to be out for a bit.
Right.
And hopefully I can come back.
How did you sustain the injury? Was it just training?
Wrestling, yeah. So I took someone down and it weren't even going hard. It was just technical. It was back in January. I took someone down and then someone else fell into the top of my head. I just felt my neck crunch. And I had like pins and needles. I lost feeling in my hand. And I thought it was a stinger injury, so I carried on training around it. And then my back went like April time. So I was like in bed for 2 days because I couldn't walk with that. And then I was okay and I was training. It was taking me longer to recover. And then I'd fought in March, which was an easy fight, fortunately. And then I think it was June time. I got took down off one of the Russians, and he was dead smug about it. And he was like, "Oh, you see that takedown to the coach?" So I jumped up. I managed to get back up. Then I was like, "Oh, okay, playing that game then." So I wanted to get him back. And it happened to me when I fought Lucian. Like Lucian took me down in the fight at the main event.
Right.
And Vinny says he's gonna want to get him back now because of my ego as a fighter. And then I went in hands down and got cut on my face there and cut on top of my head, which could have ended the fight, but it's the same in here. Like he took me down, took the mick, so I got back. I was like, all right then. Threw a shot, took him down, and in the scramble, I just totally collapsed. Just felt it. Right. I was agony. I was like screaming, and then like when I was getting the breath, I was like, "Did you see that takedown?"
You still wide it in your 1-1 now.
as long as like people always say I've got no ego, I'm humble, but there's a fight, you've got to have an ego.
Yeah, definitely, you've got to walk.
Yeah.
You have got to walk.
But that's what did me. It put me in hospital for 10 days.
Wish you a speedy recovery with that.
Cheers.
So at the moment you're a striking coach full time, is that right?
Yeah.
Is that something you want to continue to do in the future? Maybe after, like later on after you retire, do you just want to be a striking coach?
Yeah, I enjoy it. It opens the mind. So like I quit work last year as a builder and a roofer and that. My mate Kane Musa, who owns Badder Sport, get on there and buy stuff. He did an event up in Oldham and I got invited to it because I'm from Oldham. I've done like I ran with the Olympic torch and stuff like that, representing Oldham and stuff. So when I was there, it was just the way the young lot were just in awe of Kane and they were coming up speaking to me as well, and it was just like, nah, I'm wasting my life being on a building site, not enjoying it, earning rubbish. So I quit work and I was like, right, to my missus, I'm going to quit work and I'm going to go full time as a fighter and I'm going to study at the same time. So I jumped on they snapped me up as soon as I said to one of them, I'll get on like a youth work course. They snapped me up straight away. They got me volunteering and that. So I'm studying youth work at the moment.
Nice one.
I was focusing on just being a fighter, not even coaching, because for me, you can't be a coach and a fighter. You've got to have it's hard to do both. But and then I just fell into coaching. I just started covering sessions when, like this gym, we only opened in January. So when you're trying to find the coaches, they've got to want to be a coach. So it's all right me saying to you, oh, can you come and do this class? But you're going to find reasons not to come if you don't want to do it.
Yeah, definitely. There's always an excuse.
Yeah, always an excuse. So you need to find people who are, and it revolves around like youth work as well. Like people have got to be voluntarily engaged. Young people as well in youth settings have got to be voluntarily engaged. That's how you get the best out of them, because if they don't want to do it, then they're not going to perform the best. And it's same in here being a coach. And I was the one who was always popping up, oh, I'll cover the class, I'll do the class. I don't mind doing the class. And then once I started doing it, and obviously me studying my youth work and like doing a bit of self-reflection and stuff like that, I was thinking, I'm starting to realise I can do this coaching. I've coached for years anyway, but just as like, again, covering people, like, I'll take your class and that, but I just proper got into it and it just started opening parts of my brain that I didn't even realise I had, and I'd see stuff, and I've got an eye for it apparently. So my coach, Carl Prince, like, he's come from a football background and then boxing. He's a coach of like Frank May, Luke Barnett, Lerone, and he's just like, he realises my ability as a coach.
Yeah.
I see things that, and I wouldn't even say I'm a teacher. Stick me in front of a class full of newbies and I'll struggle to teach you technique, but I'll see things when you're doing stuff like where to put your feet, where your balance is, where there's an opening. So I don't class myself as a teacher, I just say I'm a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can add layers. I probably find it hard to get someone from scratch and make them a good fighter.
Yeah.
But if I've got the base there, then I can add layers that can just make them a good
and
fighter.
also like spot
Yeah.
maybe certain areas which you need to improve on and stuff
And
like that.
I've had compliments off people that have come in from other gyms, and they're like they say I seem to have that mentality and the ability to take a good fighter to a top fighter,
Yeah.
just for understanding the body and body mechanics, and that comes from Carl, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's put that a lot on me.
Yeah.
Like,
What's it like training with, like, obviously underneath Carl and stuff, and as a fighter and also as a coach also here?
he's a sick coach.
Yeah.
He's a clever man, and at top team here we're trying to he's put it in place of, he's trying to have a football team mentality. So it's a football team within a gym.
Yeah.
With all individual
Top
fighters.
band,
Yeah. So we're everything's run. So he's not a coach that'll say, and there's for what I know of in the UK, there's only 3 people. There's him, Danny Mitchell at AVT, and Dean Garnett from Leeds, who have not got the ego to say, I can teach you everything. They'll say, I can't show you this, so I'm going to bring this person in.
Yeah.
I'll bring that person in. And we've just got loads of different influences. And you've got like 20 top people who want to be involved in the gym. You're going to grow.
Everyone's going to bounce off each other as well.
So what's your socials? You want to shout out your Instagram and stuff?
Just Lofty MMA on everything. Just kept it nice and simple.
Wicked. Well, thank you for having us down today.
Thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it.
Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you again soon.